Hi everybody, this is Naomi. I am the Happy Bookkeeping Coach, and there's just been some questions that I've heard come across about this PD27, the 10% temporary wage subsidy self-identification form for employers. And some of the confusion has been regarding how we are reporting the TWS. Because when we calculated our TWS, that's the 10% wage subsidy that we could decrease our payroll remittances by, it was calculated on the paid date. But here we can see on the form, it's not asking us for the paid date in any column, it's just asking us for the pay periods. And also, confusingly, it asks us for the total number of eligible employees employed from March 18th to June 19th, not the number of eligible employees who were paid from March 18th to June 19th. So I did some searching, and I just wanted to share with everybody what I found, because there's a lot to look through. So first of all, this form is to help CRA reconcile what you may have reduced your remittances by, what you may or may not have reduced your 75% CEWS by, or the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy by, whether you have or whether you haven't. And here's some example scenarios of the people who, or the businesses that need to submit this form. And it does need to be done before you submit your T4s so that CRA can marry it all together and reconcile and either bill you or issue you a refund or whatever needs to happen. Now, to confirm, the TWS, the 10% wage subsidy, is still calculated on the paid date. And here is an example of scenario 5. If you're an eligible employer whose pay period is outside of the 3-month eligibility period. I think they phrased that really interestingly wrong, but if it says if your pay period began before March 18th, but you paid your employees on or after March 18th, the remuneration still qualifies for the TWS. Okay, so that's our answer right there. And so you need to enter into Part D, a reminder. This is this section here that we're giving all the breakdown details. The dollar amount or percentage of TWS that you're claiming for each pay period. So if you're submitting the form through My Business Account, it says select March 18th as the start date of the pay period for any pay period that began before March 18th. And it says this because the design of the form is not only kind of substandard, but the online remittance form is also not designed properly and substandard. So they have to describe how to use it because it doesn't let you enter in a date before March 18th. Again, and this is part of why I felt I needed to question myself and look into this further, and it made me question what I thought I knew. But I did find this, I did call CRA to confirm, and yep, the TWS is based on the paid date, even though we were reporting the pay periods and not even reporting the paid date on the form. There are different ways to submit this form, and it's also on this link. This is the first link that I'm including in the comments section. And the first way is by going into your My Business account, and I use RepaClient, and that's what I'm going to show you next. And the other way is just downloading the form and writing it out. Then you can either scan it and submit it through My Business account, or you can mail it to these addresses here. And you may choose to just write it out because doing it online is restrictive, but I still like doing everything online because I like to see the confirmation that it was received. So I just thought I would jump online really quickly and show everybody what it looks like to submit it online in case you have any further questions. So before going online, I would prepare all the information, gather all the information that I need. You can do this right on the form itself, but I like Excel because I can add stuff up and check my work. The first thing I would do is this section right here, is I would list out all of the paycheck dates between March 18th and June 19th, 2020. once I've listed them all out, I would go and write down what the pay period that they cover is. And so that's what these are, the pay period that covers here. You can see this first one is March 2nd to March 15th, paid on March 20th. And as per what we read, this is eligible for the TWS 10% wage subsidy. Next, what I would do is I would look at the total wages and earnings, including bonuses, and I would put it in this column or in here, and then I would put in what the income tax deducted was, what the CPP, the employee portion and the company portion. So this is the remittance amount for this pay period. So both the portion for the employee and the company. And also the employment insurance, same thing, both portions. And then we've got that wage subsidy claimed is I just took this column and I multiplied it by 0.1. That's the 10% that we'll be claiming. This is an example of a company who either wasn't eligible for the CEWS, they weren't eligible for the 75% wage subsidy, or it is a company that was eligible for the 75% wage subsidy and they didn't, like they requested that this get deducted off of their CEWS application, saying, oh, I already got some of it sooner, because this is a way to get it sooner, if you understand what I mean there. Now, if you were eligible for the CEWS and did not claim on the CEWS that you were deducting any remittances, this would be 0, because you claimed all of it through the CEWS. Like you didn't reduce the CEWS claim because you were getting it sooner through the TWS. So again, if you did not deduct from your CEWS application anything saying that I got it sooner through the TWS by reducing my remittances, this is where you would say 0 for all of these. That's what this is for. But again, like I said, this is an example of a business that is either not eligible for the CEWS, so they want all of their TWS, or when they filed their CEWS, they said, oh, don't give us this much because we're getting it through the TWS. So this is an example of that business. If you didn't quite understand what I was trying to say there, there are examples here on that first link that I sent of all the different scenarios that you could apply to you and how to fill it out. And also I will be linking to this webinar right here that goes over the TWS and how to claim it or what have you. And again, by the way, here's that question that somebody asked. They're like, we claimed the TWS based on the instructions of remuneration paid, but the form asks for pay periods. So how do we account for this when reporting? And CRA's answer is, if the pay period was March 1st to 13th and the payments were issued on 18th, the amounts may be eligible for the TWS if all other eligibility criteria are met. And I called CRA and asked what that meant. And they basically said, well, as long as they're an eligible employer and all the other normal eligibilities are still in place. So back to this of us gathering the information. You'll notice that in this case right here, the wage subsidy claimed is 10%, even though the income tax deducted wasn't enough to take the full reduction in remittance. Whether we carried that forward or not, or didn't claim it or did, doesn't matter. This is how much we want to claim, whether we reduced our source deductions remittances by this amount or not. You know, at the end of the day, I want all of it, thank you. So once we've prepared all the information that we need, we can go ahead and log into our CRA My Account. And the first section that you see under your CRA My Account is the GST HST section. The next section is payroll, and that's what we need. And it's this 10% wage subsidy link right here. This is that PD27 form, the self-reporting for employers form. Even though it doesn't say it, that's what it is. So we go ahead and we click that. And you can read all this when you get there. And then we go ahead and we just start filling in the information that's at the top of the other form. So it's a sole proprietor in this example, and there's 2 employees in this example, and there's no other RP accounts. So if you have RP0001 at the end of your business number, that's your one payroll program account. And if you have RP0002 as well, then you would say yes, and that's a different video. But just for the one payroll account, so we're saying, do we have multiple? No, we only have the one. Now it takes us to this payroll section where we would put in all of those pay periods. So I'm just gonna move this over and split screen it for you guys. You can see that if I put 03, 02, oh, I can't put, it just forces me on the 20. I'm doing this pay period right here. This is the one I'm working on right now. And I put the other pay period end date 03/15. And if I were to fill in all these numbers right here and I say next, it would say no, it's got to be 3/18 or later. And that's what is throwing people off. And it's really just the bad design. So as instructed on the other website, we go ahead and say 3/18 to 3/18. And this is for this March 2nd to 15th pay period that was paid on March 20th. And I'm going to put this in the comments at the end. There is a place for me to specify with CRA what I did here. And then you just put in the rest of the information for this row. And 384, 62, and 10%, like that. And then all you do is you hit next, and it takes you to the next screen, which will show you you've added one row. And so you've claimed 38462 in total. And I'm going to keep adding all of these until I add it adds up to the 2403, and I know I haven't made a mistake. So I'm just going to do one more with you guys because the next one's also kind of weird. We're going to add another period. And so I'm going to put in now I can't do March 16th, remember, because it doesn't let me, but I can do March 18th, and I will say to March 29th, like that. For this case, it was 961.45, and then 67.89, and then 93.89. EI was 21.27, and we claimed 96.15. That's the 10%. And again, just to confirm in this case right here that the full 96 was not withheld from the remittance, but we do want it all eventually one way or another, whether we deducted it or not. So that's why I'm putting it in. Also, a client on some of these, well, on one of their months, they actually forgot to withhold some of it from their remittance, but I'm still putting it in because we still want it at the end of the day. So we're going to add. So I'm doing this with you guys for the first time because I thought this was going to be easy, but look what it says. It says that the from date can't overlap the other one. So I'm going to have to say 19 here. I'm learning with you. You learn to do by doing. I'm going to go add. So you can see that now we've got the two rows in. This one and this one is done. And you can see that the running total is 480. And so now what you do is you put in, you add another period and you add each row in until each row is showing up at the top here. And then again, as I said, once you've done them all, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to say something along the lines of, the first pay period, March 2nd to March 15th, paid date, March 20th, just to clarify, second pay period, March 16th to March 29th, paid date, April 4th. And you don't need to do that for all of them. Just do that for the ones that you had to modify because it's the screen. And in this section as well, you can sort of explain how you took your remittances, if you missed a period, if you couldn't take it all, if you're, adjusting in which months, or how you did it with TWS. And if you find that you run out of room, even after getting rid of extra characters that don't matter because you've only got 400 characters, and you really want to say certain things and it's just not giving you enough characters, well, go ahead and fill this out, print this out, and write in the additional comments section as much as you feel you need to, and then that way you can mail it in or you submit documents and get the information to CRA that you need. Then you scroll down to the bottom, you fill this all in, you hit next. Though I'm not going to do that because this is just a fake number example, and that just to illustrate to people out there how to do it if they're a bit wary and would like to see what it looks like. So there you have it. An example of somebody submitting their 10% wage subsidy self-identification form for employers online with wonky pay periods, and also the links to show that these pay periods, even if they are before March 18th, as long as the pay date is after March 18th, they are eligible for this TWS. So I'm going to link to this temporary, it's got everything here. Like I'm on the reporting page, but it also has all of these helpful links. And also I'm going to link to this very helpful webinar, slide 28 question 2. Those are the ones that I feel are the biggest questions that are out there right now that I wanted to address with this YouTube video, but you can watch their temporary wage subsidy webinar also. Anyway, thanks so much, guys. I hope this was helpful, and have a good and happy day.